just grew up in a family that boys would be boys. I had some things that happened in my past. I guess when I became a teenager, 20s, I guess I was just a lot of fun and partied. And I didn't realize that the drinking was sort of masking some of my hidden issues. Then, of course, I met my wife out, and I was that fun guy, and I covered all my brokenness. And after a few years of dating, and we got married, still broken. We had a child, a difficult pregnancy for her, still struggling in our marriage. Divorce was something that was always talked about, and I believe our marriage was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. A year or so later, we find ourselves pregnant again. And when we went to the doctor, and with her being a high-risk pregnancy, he suggested aborting. I wasn't sitting there supporting her with that decision, and I just really wasn't there. There was brokenness in my past that hadn't been dealt with, so it was one of those things that I learned to stuff it down and have a few drinks and just have a good time, and that's how I ran from things. I was embarrassed of the things that I thought and was not at all stand beside my wife. That took my child's life. Several years later, we started attending church, both broken, and that is where both of our lives started changing. My thinking process started changing, and I could just tell that the Lord was doing something in our life, and Tony's life, and just how she came along, and the opportunities and the people, and how God was putting things in her place, and how she started working at a pregnancy center. Then as she got there, she went to an abortion healing. I've seen how the Lord had worked in her, and how the Lord has been working in me over the years. She thought and suggested what I would think about attending this retreat. After attending the retreat, the freedom, the surrendering of giving that over to the Lord, it was the Lord taking that from me and knowing that I am forgiven. Coming home and with my wife, for her after 30-some years of marriage, to tell me that she trusts me.
So one of the things that I don't know if you hit on or you talked about was the fact that I've had 3 abortions, and 2 of those were before I ever even met John, but he didn't know about that. So when we made that decision for our child, he wasn't making that decision based on all the information, but I was also holding, because I was unhealed at the time, that secret too, which played in, I think, to our decision. So for me, I went 32 years before, from my first abortion to when I went to my abortion recovery. And it changed everything for me. It was the first time that I understood and believed and accepted that Jesus died on that cross for me too, because I think with so many of us women that are post-abortive especially, we think that's the unforgivable sin, and we think that we're the only ones out there, and just it finally hit me that he loved me, that God loved me. And receiving that forgiveness changed everything. And that's when I became passionate and began doing the work of abortion recovery just serving the Lord in that capacity, because I wanted every woman, I didn't know I wanted every man at that point, but every woman to receive that healing and forgiveness and freedom from what I had felt for years, and I know what a lot of other women share too. So based on the work that I do, I know that there are people that are going to be watching that have had an abortion experience in their past. And I think the important thing there that, we sometimes focus on the women, but even I'm opening up to this newfound understanding after all these years and doing the work that we need to be thinking about the men, because the depth of what I've watched you go through and the voice that you've given to that. So I just want to encourage anybody that's sitting out there, man, woman, there is hope and there is healing, and it's beautiful, it's freedom.